So if you want to know how to turn this juice into wine, stay tuned and I'm going to show you how. Welcome to Deep in the Sauce, brought to you by Big Butz Barbecue Sauce, Butz in the Woods, me your host Tom Porter, and our lovely camera girl Shelly Porter, also known as my wife. Now, this is the 4th episode of Deep in the Sauce, and today we're going to be talking about a little bit different sauce. Not only do I like to make excellent food and barbecue sauce, but I like to do a little home brewing and home wine making. And we're going to show you how easy it is to turn juice you'll find at any store and fruits you can harvest from your own garden into great wine. Okay, now making wine can be as simple as taking a little juice, throwing some yeast in, and putting a balloon on top. Trust me, they've been doing it in prison for years. We're going to do a little bit more in-depth thing here. I've picked up some pomegranate juice. So we're going to be making some pomegranate wine today. And then I've got all this fruit that I've either harvested from my garden or that I picked up on sale pretty much all throughout the summer. We got blackberries, raspberries, strawberries. I even managed to get a hold of one bag of melon here. And we got some blueberries in there too. We're going to be mixing them up with couple of things of apple cider and cooking them up. And so let's get started. We got our pomegranate juice dumped in here and that's starting to cook away here. And we just want to bring it up to about 180, but to help bring out those flavors a little bit better, we're going to add a couple of things. And the first being, we're going to add some lemon juice. Just about 2 tablespoons worth. Figure I usually go about 2 tablespoons for every gallon or so I'm making, and this is going to be about a gallon when I'm all done. And then I'm also going to put in some dried orange peel. And the citrus in the orange peel and in the lemon juice is going to help bring out the flavors of this in the end product. Right now, the sugar that's going to be in this is going to be about enough to make a wine that's, around 6% alcohol. I like mine a little bit stronger, so in a bit we're going to add more sugar to that too. But for now, we're going to get started on another one. Now, I got a nice nylon bag here, and I've already put a gallon of apple cider into this pot. And what the bag is for is when I dump all this fruit here, and the bag's going to hold it. And that way, when I go to remove the fruit, it makes it a lot easier than having to just strain it. You can just pull the bag out and squeeze all the juices out of it. Now this fruit blend here is actually going to have to sit for a couple of days before we go ahead and we add our yeast to it. Alright, now we've dumped all of our raw fruit in here. Now I'm going to throw some citrus in here too. So we're going to want to start making our yeast starter for that one. This one's going to have to sit a couple of days before we add the yeast to it. But this one we'll add right to it once we're done. Now to this, I'm just going to top it off with some more juice here. And it's okay that not all the juice gets cooked, but I like to get all my fruit cooked because it helps to break it down. And we'll throw some pectic enzyme in there, and that'll help break it down even more. Now, when it comes to yeast, you can get just about any kind of wine flavor that you like. But when you're working with fruits, I recommend a champagne. Now I've got 2 of them here. I think I'm going to go with this one just because I've used it before and I like it. Now the nice thing about a wine starter, or a yeast starter for wine is you can take juice straight from the bottle, providing the glass is clean, and you're going to fill it up to about a cup or so. Doesn't take a whole lot. And as long as it's not too cold, you can just go ahead and throw in your yeast. Alright, so I'm just going to pour that in there. And we're just going to leave it like that. Now what's going to happen is all these little granules of yeast are going to start floating down to the bottom. And then there's going to be kind of a cream on the top of the surface. And that cream starts to form, then we know our yeast is working. So we're going to be ready to go for when we get this all cooled down and set in its fermentation container. That's to drop to at least around 100 degrees, if not lower, preferably around 70, before we dump our yeast in, which, if you take a look at that, it's starting to get a nice little bubble layer starting to go on the top, which lets us know it's working. Because the worst thing that can happen is to have bad yeast that isn't going to work. Alright, so first thing is, I got a jug here. It's a gallon. It should fit there, and conveniently I used it already on the other stuff. Now, this stuff is going to be, like I say, about 6% alcohol or so. So I want to up the alcohol on it a bit. So I'm going to add a pound of regular sugar into this. And a pound of sugar in a gallon will yield you about 5% alcohol when fully fermented. So that's in there. And then we're going to put a screen on here now, because we're going to have this catch all the orange rind and any other little bits of stuff that might have came along in there. So now we're going to take it and just dump her in our funnel. Fill up our jug. And we're going to take our yeast, do a little swish so we don't leave any good chunks behind, and dump her right in our funnel. Just like that. Now, the thing is for yeast to work, they need to have some oxygen. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab our cap. Now this cap, I've already cut a hole out of the top, and you'll see why in a second. But I'm just going to put my hand over the hole and do this some good shaking. And what I'm trying to do is incorporate some oxygen in with the yeast to get it working. Alright. Now that that's bubbling away, the next thing we need to do is put an airlock on the top of it. This is some wine I've been fermenting for about 2 or 3 months now, and it is ready to bottle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this airlock from it and sanitize it. I'm going to take the airlock, and I cut a hole in the cap here that should fit the airlock in the hole. Ooh, settle down. Alright. Now, as this cools down, the bubbles will start going like that. But for now, it's still cooling down a little bit. When it evens out and the yeast start doing their thing, this water's going to shift over here and we'll start bubbling away. But for now, we're going to take her and set her off to the side.